volunteers in China continue their flood relief for Jilin Province, helping over 300 families in need. We found out some relief exercise for the foot pain, plantar fasciitis from Taichung Tzu Chi Hospital doctors. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Marilee Shoda. Thank you for joining us. We begin today's program in China, where Tzu Chi volunteers are still carrying out relief work for the flood victims in Jilin Province. This time it was for over 300 families in a village, and helping to provide the aid supplies, which even included kitchen volunteers and recycling volunteers, were mobilized to aid the distribution. In the end, the volunteers gave out relief goods, instant rice and more because they wanted the victims to feel Tzu Chi's love.
The day just broke and the trucks loaded with goods have arrived at Lianhua village in Jilin City. The volunteers have brought in relief goods for 383 families, with help from volunteers in northeastern China and northern China.
Every victimized family lost everything, so I don't know how to help them. So I came to attend this distribution job.
The volunteers are sweating under the sun, but they don't say they are tired. They just want the victims to feel Tzu Chi's love.
Thank you very much for your hard work. In the future, if any place suffers from a disaster, I will also join your organization.
Considering the disaster victims have nothing left, the volunteers prepare comforters, daily goods, medical kits, and cleaning goods so they can live without any problem.
We have no harvest to live on, so although the things you gave us are not many, but they are what we need the most. So we appreciate it very much. We can't express enough gratitude.
For the floods in Jilin, Tzu Chi volunteers have started evaluating and making distributions since July 13th. Besides the volunteers on the front line, the volunteers behind the scenes have shown their support too. Zhang Chunyuan from Changchun, China, has been helping with preparing food for all the volunteers for half a month.
Not everyone is capable of cultivating this field of blessing. I want to thank my boss for giving me this long break, and my mom for her assistance so I can cook for everyone.
There are not many volunteers in China, so if a major disaster happens, these volunteers have to shoulder several jobs. Take Chen Chunlian, for example. She is in several teams, including collecting enzymes.
Xinde Kindergarten donated over 1,000 bottles of enzymes, and others were donated by some other people. So the enzymes have different colors. Some are darker while some are lighter because they're from different families.
To bring peace of mind to the people in disaster areas, we're grateful to Tzu Chi for giving us this chance to give love.
Curveballs are often thrown to the relief goods team's way, such as the number of comforters needed. It tests their reactions.
When it comes to collecting the relief goods, it really tests our will. It reveals who we are and if we'll become agitated. But when we think about the disaster victims, we have to continue.
Switching our focus to the flooding in Thailand, Thailand's 12 provinces in the northeastern region have suffered the worst flooding the region has seen in 20 years. Due to the large scale of the flooding, Bangkok Tzu Chi volunteers began conducting disaster surveys, starting with the provinces closest to them. An 11-member team with the help of local authorities traveled by boat and land to check on the residents' conditions, ensuring their basic needs are met following the disaster. After a full survey is conducted, distributions will later follow. There is water as far as the eye can see. This is Thailand's Ayutthaya, where 11 Tzu Chi volunteers from Bangkok have formed a survey team to check on local residents living along the Chao Phraya River.
The tide comes in high at night. In the morning, it's low tide.
In Ban Ploop, this 91-year-old lives alone. And though his home is on stilts, he's still worried about the flood. The senior May has her own small boat to help with transportation during monsoon and flooding season.
When it floods, life is inconvenient. We need to wait out in the water. It's been 2 months that we have been submerged underwater. We don't know when it will be gone. Last year, we were flooded for 3 months. Though the water recedes quickly, I still go out in the water.
Without boats, we can't leave because the road has been flooded.
Since 2011, the residents of Ayutthaya have suffered annual flooding. Without means to move, they can only accept this fate.
This is the flood mark from last year. This is the flood mark from 2011. It was 2 stories high.
In total, volunteers visited 4 areas to understand the needs of the disaster victims and also take note of the flood levels.
This is where the water was the highest. It's low tide now. I saw over there it was 30 centimeters.
Thailand volunteers said that besides the survey, they will continue visiting other disaster zones. And after a full name list is made, they will then hold the necessary aid distribution. While Taiwan is very hot because it is summer now, the southern hemisphere is experiencing winter. To help the underprivileged in Chile, Tzu Chi volunteers held a winter distribution in Nogales. Goods such as cooking utensils and pots were given to 320 families. A care recipient even stressed how heartwarming the aid distribution was, as these items are what they needed the most during this time.
Tzu Chi volunteers hold a winter distribution in Nogales, Chile. They use the sign language to share love.
Thank you so much. I never knew a distribution ceremony can be so touching.
Then comes a fast rhythm piece of music, which moves the city's mayor with her red hat to dance and swing. The relief goods are what the underprivileged 320 families need the most.
I want to thank Tzu Chi, and I'm also proud to receive a blanket from you. I've been suffering from the pain in my feet for years, so I must raise them. It will hurt if I keep them down. A volunteer told me to make peace with the pain, and then it will reduce. Thank you.
This distribution stems from a meeting 4 months ago between the mayor, Alcaldesa Margarita, and Tzu Chi volunteer Xie Zhenxiang, who is in charge of Tzu Chi Chile office. Her openness made this distribution possible. After it is over, they hope to meet again.
Typhoon Nasat and Haitang led to flooding in many areas in southern Taiwan. Tzu Chi volunteers in Tainan, Kaohsiung, and Pingtung immediately sprung into action, delivering hot food and emergency aid to help affected residents. Up until August 1st, some 5,320 volunteers were mobilized to help the typhoon recovery effort, helping affected villagers restore their homes as quickly as possible. When Typhoon Nasat was announced, we established a Typhoon Disaster Center which guided all of our operations. I know it's delicious because every time we have a flood, you deliver a lunchbox to us.
Am I satisfied? Yes, very satisfied. You are working so hard.
Working together, furniture is piled up outside with the help from a front-end loader. Pingtung Tzu Chi volunteers quickly arrived in Fangliao Township to help with large-scale rubbish removal.
Right now, they are moving all of the furniture stuck in the flood onto the road. Now they are helping people clean up their homes.
As the village experienced lots of furniture ruined by the typhoon, village chiefs asked Tzu Chi volunteers for help cleaning their homes so that villagers can return to normal life as soon as possible.
We received a call from the Pingtung chapter, which said they need 500 relief packages. They were assembled at the Linbian train station at 9 o'clock this morning and wanted to bring packages for their home visitations.
Yet another typhoon would strike Taiwan as Pingtung's Fangliao Township would experience flooding. Tzu Chi volunteers and owner of a lumber store, Kang Rongchang, used wood to create an emergency flood retaining wall.
I have lived so long in the low-lying area of Fangliao and have never seen such flooding. If I did not take these boards out to stop the water, there would be much more water.
Although the factory was flooded, Kang Rongchang and his wife, Wang Lifang, chose to wear Tzu Chi volunteer outfits and carry out disaster relief work to care for other affected households.
I think we have nothing to lose. We saw the loss of others and how they were affected, and this made us feel quite sad.
We worried it would be too late. We really want to do this work and show others that we should cherish everything.
The first line of Tzu Chi volunteers are those themselves who were affected by the flood, as they put aside their own troubles to help others. Since August 1st, Tzu Chi volunteers have mobilized a total of 5,320 people to help with the typhoon cleanup. Some 3,169 meals along with 1,440 daily use items and 554 blessing packets were distributed.
Do you have a stabbing pain in your heel or the bottom of your foot when you stand? It is known as plantar fasciitis and is quite a common foot disorder for those who need to stand for 7 or 8 hours a day, such as nurses, department store clerks, and even teachers. To alleviate symptoms of plantar fasciitis, Taichung Tzu Chi Hospital Rehabilitation Department doctors offer these remedies. Selling braised dishes for nearly 20 years, Mr. Xiao stands on his feet for 8 hours a day. Having a habit of only using his right leg to support his body, Mr. Xiao has developed plantar fasciitis.
The pain is so severe that I can't stand, and I can only use my other foot to support myself. The pain is more severe at the heel and bottom of the foot.
Mr. Xiao's prolonged standing has led to this disorder, which is common for those who need to stand for work, such as nurses, department store clerks, or even teachers.
The most common symptoms are pain in the heel and bottom of the foot. It's often worse in the morning. Just like rubber bands, new ones are very elastic. With wear and tear, the elasticity wears off and becomes brittle. The same goes for our ligaments as we age.
Doctors can use an ultrasound to see the plantar fasciitis infection.
Most patients' pain is in this area. So when we scan it, this area is likely to be inflamed. When we see the thick black spots on the ultrasound, that's an infection.
Doctors suggest adequate rest for both legs to alleviate the infection. One can also use massages or stretches to relax the muscles.
Put the ball underneath the ball of the feet and roll it back and forth. Use your toes to grab the towel and hold it for 5 seconds, then let go.
Doing this towel exercise with the toes can help strengthen and prevent the foot pain. And next, use a towel to stretch the leg tendons.
Use your hands and pull the towel towards your body. You can feel the stretch in your legs.
The last movement, using the wall for support and do a back lunge. The purpose is to stretch the back leg.
This is a knee extension and hold the position for 15 seconds, then relax. The other way is to bend the knee a little, and it will also stretch out the lower leg.
By relaxing the bottom of the foot and stretching the lower legs, the symptoms of plantar fasciitis can be alleviated. Furen Catholic University Foreign Language Department student Li Han-yi was conducting an internship with the police department when she was injured by the Kaohsiung gas explosion on August 1st. The fire caused painful burns on her hands and emotional scars in her heart. Yet as Han-yi's mother encouraged her to persevere and test to become a public servant in the first place, this mother tends to blame herself when her only daughter got hurt in the accident. At the beginning, Han-yi was upset that her hands were so badly scarred, but now she has changed her outlook and feels simply happy to be alive. She also feels fortunate to be a police officer to safeguard the security of the general public.
Li Han-yi is a female police officer working at night. These inspections seem quite simple and not tiring work, but for Han-yi these actions may be more difficult, as 3 years ago responding to a crisis changed her life forever.
I remember falling into the pit and there was a stone on top of my feet, and a senior member of my group pulled me out like this.
On the night of the accident, she was an intern and was doing traffic control at an intersection when she heard a blast that caused her to fall into a pit, and the hot fire burned her cheeks and hands. After taking off her pressure garment, there are some red and white areas which are burn scars.
Yes, when I saw my hands become like this afterwards, I felt that I was very ugly. I also wondered why it happened to me and not someone else. Why am I the only one like this? I had to remind myself I was very lucky, because at that time there were people who suffered more than me.
While Han-yi would have to suffer these scars and disfigured hands, her mother would also carry this pain in her heart.
Her face and her hand injuries required us to change the dressing, and it was quite painful, as we had to do this about 9 o'clock, and we would administer a pain-killing shot at about 8:30. This type of flesh wound is quite painful, as we need to do debridement, and you could see her crying even with the painkiller in.
After graduating from Furen Catholic University, her daughter decided to become a police officer. And even after the explosion, her mother encouraged her to go through with this process and pass the exam, as she also put her heart into her daughter's rehabilitation.
Taking a look at it another way, if she didn't want to become a police officer, this would have never happened. Sometimes we do think if we made the right decision.
From a young age, she wanted to take care of herself. In the eyes of her mother, this independent daughter experienced a painful trauma, but she is still a good daughter and wants to prove that she is able to care for herself so that others do not need to worry.
Tzu Chi dialysis centers are 20 years old in Malaysia. The centers don't just give patients the treatment they need, but also invite them to go out and be volunteers so they won't feel so lonely anymore.
Patients with a kidney disease need this machine to extend their lives.
When people first come here, they need to become adjusted because they must sit here for 4 hours and they can't move their hands. You can only sit here quietly.
The patients feel helpless while sitting there. When Tzu Chi volunteers see it, they try to change their mindsets.
We'll visit their families. We can feel their families or children are the most important support to the patients, so we will visit them. If we have volunteers who are also patients, they can share their experiences with these patients.
When they are willing to give help, their mindsets will also be different.
But we are very happy to join this type of volunteer work.
With recycling, we can save the earth and reduce garbage.
When I'm free at home, I'll recycle here. I have dialysis on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but I'm free on other days.
I come to Tzu Chi for dialysis, so Tzu Chi helps me, and I want to help other people.
Despite their physical illnesses, these patients have seen the value of life and are not bound by the machines anymore.
Taiwan's suicide prevention hotline 1995 is often the place people turn to for an emotional outlet. However, a decrease in the number of young volunteers joining the hotline means the average age for volunteers is now 45. Another deterrent is maybe to the fact that long hours of training are needed before actually being able to handle callers. Thus, now many of the regional associations have very few volunteers to cover such shifts, leading to problems in scheduling. Let's see how the association plans to handle this crisis.
Taiwan Suicide Prevention Hotline volunteers have talked numerous callers off the proverbial ledge. They go through 265 hours of training and practical training before they are officially on call. However, in the past few years, there has been a decrease in the numbers of volunteers.
Although Taipei City has always been most active when it comes to volunteers, we are still shorthanded. We only recruit volunteers every 2 years because our training is about that long. 30 years ago, we had about 400 volunteers sign up, but now it's less than 100.
There are approximately 2,500 volunteers across the island. The volunteers here are on average over 45 and over. Out of the 24 associations, 17 of them are on call for 24 hours. The main reason is that besides the 6 major cities of Taiwan, the rest of the regions don't have nearly enough listeners to pick up the phone, especially at night. A volunteer here at the Lifeline for the past 24 years, Hu Huizhu, speaks about the difficulty of recruiting new blood into the volunteer network.
Training takes a very long time, and when taking calls, one's mental stress is pretty severe. The caller might have been talking to you for a while and say, "I feel your assistance has not been very helpful." Listening to these words, as a listener, we might doubt our own skills and start questioning ourselves.
In the past, Lifeline Association's volunteers must go through a verbal and written examination, as well as a standardized patient exam before they are approved. Now there are 4 levels, and the training session has been extended for over a year. Now there are only a few volunteers who stay throughout the entire training due to family issues or economic issues. Mental strength cannot be developed overnight. The Lifeline Association plans to divert calls to other counties and townships when volunteers are short, and hopes to provide the best service to those in need of such guidance.
Tzu Chi volunteers in the United States recently participated in the summer fair at Chicago's downtown, where they promoted vegetarianism as well as donating their change to help others less fortunate. As we leave you with these images at the end of the program, on behalf of the staff here, I'd like to wish the fathers in Taiwan a happy Father's Day. Thank you for joining us today. See you next time.